Okay, so this is lesson 3, neuroscience and brain development. So during the preceding lesson, I made mention that part of what is included in here is the anatomy, no, anatomical structure of the brain. However, we forgo that because you will have, or I think you have had subject naman anatomy, no. So um, we will be zeroing in on brain development. Uh, what's taking place, no, particularly during childhood and adolescence in terms of our the development of our brain. Okay, so of course, in this particular lesson, we will be looking into how important is brain development. I think even if we won't be looking specifically on the slides, you could somewhat establish the fact that the development of our brain has much to do with our capacity to learn. So if there's something wrong with the brain structure, tendencies are there are corresponding impairments also in terms of our functionality, not only um, as to learning but as to our functionality in general. Okay, and specifically part of our objective is for us to look into brain development during childhood and adolescence. Okay, so um, our our topic has to do with neuroscience and brain development. So, the brain is the largest and most developed part of the body at birth. No? Um, Everything in terms of structure is already there at birth. So, what's happening after that is, of course, a matter of maturation of the nerve cells, no, the process of myelinization and even plasticity, no. So in here, the context of or the factors which could be contributory to brain development would generally point unto, of course, genes and the environment, no. So although we will be having a separate discussion later on the different factors affecting physical or biological development, but again, at birth, the brain weighs 25% of its adult weight. No? So, at the age of 2, it had reached 75%. No? And definitely, even during uh, early childhood or during childhood in general, the brain is already there. Okay? Um, Okay, the concept of plasticity, no? So, it says here that the technological advances in neuroscience allowed scientists to research and develop studies about the human brain, no? So, yung EEG, no? May mga ano na ngayon, may mga modern tools na to measure brain activity. In fact, even when there are physical activities, no? um, you could you could look into brain activities. I mean uh, parang merong ding pulse yan eh, no? Merong tinatawag na electrochemical impulse, no, that's happening inside our nervous system when we are doing things, no? Like for instance, while you are watching this video, for example, your brain is at work, and when our brains are at work, I have to make it clear that even at sleep, no, the brain is at work. Okay, practically everything that we do, the brain is at work. And when our brains are at work, no, there are brain activities. There are what we call electrochemical impulse that are also taking place within, which can be measured by technology. Okay? So, this period, okay, sabi dito, there can be a lot of things no that could be fascinating about the development of the brain, especially during the first 6 years of life. No? Um, why? No? Because this is the phase of greater plasticity. No? Para bang pwede mo pang baguhin o pwede mo pang mabago yung um, uh, pag-develop ng ating brain in a way that we could create more connections of the neurons, no? Kasi ang nangyayari ang ano guys, yung concept ng myelinization, no? At birth, the while the structure of the nervous system is already there, they are not yet that mature to um they are not yet that mature, and hence our limitations in terms of complex mental activities. No? That is the very reason why a baby, for instance, is only limited of doing this. No, and why is it that most of their activity is sleep? No? Because that is actually contributory to brain development. No? There are a lot of researches which would say that sleep aids to brain development, even up to adulthood. In fact, when we lack sleep, kapag kulang tayo ng tulog, yan, meron siyang impact not only in terms of our physical, but even in terms of our psychological. Meron din siyang meron din siyang parang implication sa ating mental health. No? So, hindi lang sa physical health, pati sa mental health. No? So, brain plasticity is the ability of the brain, the ability that the brain has to change through the numerous connections made between the neurons for each new experience and learning. So, there would be greater interconnectivity of the neurons for a faster for a faster processing of information. Kasi from the senses, from the external environment, ang window natin is the sense organ. Okay? So ngayon, halimbawa, kayo ay nakikinig sa akin. Ang sense organ na very active is the sense of hearing. Okay? Ngayon, yun bang sound na pinoproduce ko ay nag-stop lang sa ear nyo? Hindi, no? Yan ay merong ang ating tenga ay may structure. Meron tayong external, middle, and inner ear. Kapag ako ay nagsasalita at ako ay naririnig ninyo yung sound na kinikreate ko, our ears are sensitive to sound wave, no? Yung sound wave na kinikreate ko ay hindi lang pumasok sa inyong eardrum, hindi lang nanatili sa inyong outer, middle, and inner ear. Meron pang nerve na nakakonect from the inner ear. The sense organ for hearing is cochlea. No? Cochlea, C-O-C-H-L-E-A. No? So from the cochlea, the sound wave is received, transmitted to the temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex, which processes auditory information. The reason why you are able to understand what I'm saying is not only because of you hearing the sound, but because the sound that you've heard is transmitted from the cochlea to the temporal lobe through your auditory nerve. Okay? So lahat practically ng mga dumadaan sa sense organs natin ay pinoproseso ng utak. Ngayon, para mabilis mag-respond, kasi ang indicator lang kung naproseso ba ng utak ay kapag merong response. Okay? So, naririnig ninyo ako, sigurado, kung narinig ninyo ako at kung ang sinagot ninyo ay yes, yan, yung pag-yes nyo ay response. Ibig sabihin, hindi lang ninyo narinig yung sound na kinecreate ko, naintindihan nyo pa. Okay? At kaya kayo nag-yes. Now, yung process na yun ay mas faster, no? Because of myelinization. During birth, that's what the brain lacks, no? But as the child grows, as the baby grows, the brain undergoes plasticity and myelinization. Okay? So with neuroplasticity, the brain is able to modify the physical structure, even the chemicals and the function. And this occurs through the experience and stimulus encountered by the child in his or her interactions with the environment. And that's why we have to be very cautious when we deal with children, no? Because we are part of the environment of the child, no? Whatever is the kind, quality of interaction we have with them would always spell the kind of development that they would have later. Okay? Now, going further, what about during early childhood? What's taking place in terms of the development of the brain? So between ages 2 and 6, the brain increases from 70% of its adult weight to 70%, no? 70, 90, no? So nabanggit actually kanina dito, no, na from 75 to 90. No? So you have to I have to correct that. That's 90%. 70 to 90%. Okay? So what is the consequence of this? Kapag merong paglaki, hindi lang ng structure, kundi meron ding kaakibat na pag-develop, no? So yung functionality, how is this contributory to our functionality as individuals? Dito nagkakaroon na tayo ng mga iba't ibang kayang gawin. No? So the different skills that we are capable of doing, mental skills, no, even as to our physiological functioning, no, when we perceive, when we understand, as we try to understand, no, by paying attention to stimulations, memory, language, imagination. So all of these are what are already you could or it could you could already observe, or it's already manifested, no, even as young as this. Makikita ninyo, di ba, may mga times na ina-appreciate nyo yung bata kasi bibong-bibo siya. Bakit siya capable of doing that? Again, we go back because there's no it's not only the body that grows, but even the brain as well. So there are corresponding growth not only to the body but to the brain, and this brings about some improvements as to our function. Okay, so same is true during middle childhood. So the frontal lobe. Okay, ano ba yon? There are four lobes of the cerebral cortex. Okay? Yung cerebral cortex, yun yung cerebrum na sinasabi natin. No? So, siguro balikan na lang ninyo yung binigay kong learning content. Andun yung mga iba't ibang parts ng nervous system. Okay? So, one of the lobes is the frontal lobe. No? So, the frontal lobe of the cerebral cortex show a slight increase in surface area and continues to undergo myelinization. So yung myelinization is nagkakaroon ng covering. Okay, siguro mas maintindihan ninyo yan kung babalikan ninyo yung parts ng nerve cell or ng neuron. Ang neuron, meron siyang um, tinatawag na myelin sheath na covering siya nung axon, no? So, ang ang function ng myelin sheath is parang yung kable ng kuryente, 'di ba? Kapag open wire 'yan, kalat-kalat yung yung kuryente, yung energy. Whereas kung insulated siya, concentrated yung electricity. So ganun din 'yon. Kung myelinated through the myelin sheath, yung nerve cell, ang tendency ay mabilis yung transmission ng impulse from the sense organ to the brain and from the brain to the sense organ pag nag-respond na yung tao. Okay? So there are also other developments like the hemispheres. There's what we call lateralization and synaptic pruning, the the formation of the neurotransmitters, no, which are responsible for higher mental processes. Okay? So, during middle childhood, yung school age, hindi ba, marami na tayong kayang gawin. No? Although, concrete ano pa rin tayo learners. No? So, you could relate to what I'm telling as later on, we will be discussing about Piaget's cognitive stages of cognitive development. Okay? And then during adolescence, ayan, meron na kayong capability of doing higher mental activities like reasoning, problem solving, logical thinking. Okay? So, we also have other lobes, yung temporal and parietal lobe, no? So, ano ba yung temporal lobe? It processes auditory information. Okay? Parietal lobe for movement, no? And um, um, other higher mental activities. Okay? Then, we also have factors. Ano-ano yung mga maaaring makaapekto sa biological development ng children at adolescents. There are just two major factors, environment and heredity or genes. Okay? So, in the environment, syempre, nandyan yung lifestyle, nandyan yung mga nutrition na nare-receive natin, nourishment na nare-receive natin. Okay? Yung genetic, wala na tayong magagawa doon kasi it is given to by our parents during pregnancy, no? Or during fertilization because there is already a sharing of the sex chromosomes. Now, the only thing we can remedy siguro is the environment, no? Because upon birth, the baby has to be nourished, has to be taken good care of by the people around him. Okay? So, yung maternal nutrition, beyond your control yan kasi that's the responsibility of the mother during her pregnancy. Yung child nutrition, pagkapanganak ng baby, ano-ano ba ang mga other yung lifestyle no na imbibe sa kanya upon birth. Okay? And early sensory stimulation lalong-lalo na sa motor development. You cannot expect the child, the baby to walk alone or without support if you would not give the baby the opportunity to actually walk. O, kan itawit to dendelo ng mo ko na. Amo ni makahinga dendelo ng mo, no? You give the child, the baby, ample time to learn the skill or to learn that particular task of walking alone or on his or her own without support. Okay? So, ayan. Genetic history, lalong-lalo na pag mga sa brain development, may mga pagkakataon guys na beyond our control like yung Down syndrome, no? Yung mongoloid, no? So yung Down syndrome guys, yung trisomy 13 kunana. Yung pang 13th na sex chromosome niya, instead na dalawa lang, no, ay naging tatlo. So kaya merong pagbabago sa physical. 'Di ba napansin niyo yung mga mongoloid, yung pare-pareho na slant yung eye, tapos pandak sila, then flabby yung kanilang skin. Okay? Ayan, genetic yang mga yan. Nutrition, exercise, sleep, and emotional well-being. So, contributory din ang emotional well-being sa physical development. pwedeng stunted ang growth ng bata dahil sa emotional well-being niya. Okay? So, what else? Okay. Then we have exceptional development, no? Kung may normal course of development, meron ding exceptional cases. And there are two: physical disability and sensory impairment, no? So pag physical disability, alam nyo na yan, no? Any impairment that hinders or limit the gross or fine motor ability of the individual, no? So some examples of this are the following, no? So cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, paraplegia, and arthritis. So that you have something to look forward to and to do, you might wish to look into what these conditions are. Okay? And then sensory impairment from the word itself, senses. So ano-anong mga um, uh, defects sa sense organs ang alam nyo, no? Like kapag say for example, totally blind, partially blind, no? Totally deaf or partially deaf, mga ganon. So visual impairment, auditory impairment, olfactory, yung walang pang-amoy. Meron bang ganun, ma'am? Yes. Meron yung iba din ang merong distortion sa pang-amoy. No? Sabi niya, mabango. Maski nagabalakagma. No? So, there are individuals with this, no? Dysosmia. And then, somatosensory impairment. No? Ito yung mga merong problema sa kanilang sense of touch, no? Yung kanilang sensations. And then, gustatory impairment, no? Sa kanilang panlasa naman. Okay? So, I'll end it here. I'll do a separate discussion for lesson 4. Okay? So, um,